Now let's continue with our conversation. Tony, it's a pleasure to have you here. I know Delle and I are excited to talk about you with you for the first time.
Absolutely, and I'm on fire, absolutely on fire. Why do you think good Christian people rush to judgment? Why do you think people would rather believe that the poor deserve their hard times than address them compassionately?
Well, there are two reasons. Number one is they don't realize that they themselves are have been benefactors. They have received all kinds of gifts that they don't talk about. A good education, a good family background. Most of us have grown up with silver spoons in our mouths.
That's right.
And we look over to those other people and we act as though everybody started at the same place. And if they're messed up, it's because they didn't do all the good things we did. They never had the chance to do the good things that you did. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we like to blame people. We call it blaming the victim.
Right.
We like to blame people because if it's their fault, then we don't feel responsible. And if there's anything that the Bible is about, it's about this. You are responsible. You are responsible. And we've been trying to escape our responsibility to poor and oppressed people, and while being Christians at the same time, and it won't work. To be Christian is to be responsible, and people try to come up with explanations of poverty and suffering that leaves them innocent, off the hook, and irresponsible.
I wonder that, Tony, do we have an understanding of secular justice versus spiritual justice, do you think exists out there?
Well, I think that the secular justice that exists in the world is simply spiritual justice that forgot about God.
Okay.
And it won't last very long. And I'll tell you why. During the 60s, I was marching and I was standing up and I was getting arrested and all those things that people who are into social justice causes are into. I'm 70 years old now.
No.
Yes, I'm an old guy. But the interesting thing is that the people who were marching and screaming with me back in the 50s have all copped out. They've all copped out. They had the right values, but they didn't have that spiritual resource that would keep them going when failure faced them in the face. They marched on Washington. They yelled a few times. They thought the whole world was going to change. And it doesn't change that easily. And I find that my secular friends have the same values as I do. And I believe they came from a biblical religious tradition that we all share. I find that many of my secular friends are very religious people without God. But that religion won't last the long time. It won't go the long run. It needs to be revitalized. And that's why old guys like me are still on fire for social justice 40, 50 years later.
I so appreciate the fact that you make it clear that the source of this stamina, this perseverance, is prayer, is relating to the God, allowing you, as you said, I love it, allowing Jesus to invade you so that his spirit, his set of principles, his set of priorities become dominant in your daily life.
Yes, so often I find that people who are into social justice, it's all an academic thing.
In their head,
right? It's an intellectual thing. I mean, and certain conservatives on the air make fun of us. You know, they call us pointy head, intellectual sophisticates.
Right.
And why don't you? Well, they've got a point. If all it is intellectual, and you say, I figured this thing out and I'm informed, and from my intellectual point of view, I think we ought to, baloney. I want people filled with the love of God. And the love of God drives us to justice. So that some person with only a 4th grade education, motivated by God, is preferable. That person motivated by the love of the Lord is preferable than to some academic who on a sophisticated basis decides that there are inequities in the social system.
Right. Well, how do we tie into that? Because you obviously are called to action over social justice, and it's easy to sit back and look at it and read the papers and go, oh, this is a problem, we need to do something. But how do we put our faith in action?
Any of your listeners who know me, and probably some of them do, will know me as an evangelist.
Right.
I go out and I call people to repent and give their lives to Jesus, to surrender their lives to Christ. But the emphasis that I have is the one that I just gave. Give your life to Jesus so that Jesus can work through you to change the world. I don't put an emphasis on the afterlife. I put it on this life because Jesus put an emphasis on this life and not the afterlife. And that's what we need to do. We need to, in fact, invite people into a personal relationship with Christ, into being filled with God, because when that happens, you don't have to worry. The Apostle Paul says this, the love of God constraineth me. It drives me to this. I mean, it's a drive within me. More powerful, I hate to say it at my age, than the sex drive. And more powerful than that, when Christ is in you, that love drives you to act.
Tony, I wish we had another half hour to
I
talk
wish I
to
had
you.
another half
I'm
hour.
absolutely captivated by everything you have to say and convinced that you're absolutely right.